Yo, it's RT here with itsfightingstupid.blogspot.com. We're going to do our UFC on versus 6 picks. We're going to start at the bottom of the card with Mac Danzig taking on Matt Wiman. This is a rematch from a previous fight that saw Matt Wiman get the W, though he didn't really beat Mac Danzig. Referee Yves Levine stepped in prematurely, though Danzig had not tapped and was still conscious. I think this is a bad matchup for Mac Danzig either way. Styles make fights, and Matt Wiman has got a bad style for Mac Danzig. He's got good wrestling, he's got good top control, and he pushes a relentless pace. Mac Danzig doesn't have the counter wrestling, and he's not enough of a threat in the jiu-jitsu realm to really have any chance here against Matt Wiman, unless he lands one of those KOs similar to he did against Joe Stevens. Moving up the card, we got Anthony Rumble Johnson taking on Charlie Brenneman in a welterweight contest. Rumble Johnson's a great big guy. He's 9-3 overall, 4-1 in his last 5, with the lone loss coming to Josh Koscheck. There's no shame in that. Charlie Brenneman, he's riding a little bit of momentum here with the upset victory over Rick Story in his last fight. This is a bad matchup for Brenneman. He's a hustle guy with good wrestling. He pushes a strong pace, but Johnson's just too big, too strong. His wrestling is good enough to keep Brenneman on the feet, where Johnson's going to have a lot of success. I like Rumble Johnson by decision here. Moving up to the co-main event of the evening, we've got Pat H.D. Barry taking on Stefan Struve. Pat Barry main evented the last UFC on Versus card in a spectacular fight with Czech Congo that saw him employ his trademark heavy leg kicks and strong punching, only to see a victory snatched away from him at the very end when Czech Congo landed a Hail Mary punch in what should be a KO of the Year candidate. Tonight we're going to see him take on Stefan Skyscraper Struve. Stefan Struve's 21-5. He's 3-2 in his last 5 fights, but the 2 losses were KOs to Travis Brown and Roy Big Country Nelson. I think we're going to see him knocked out a 3rd time here, and I think we're going to see him knocked out in a very similar fashion. The knock on Stefan Struve is, though he's tough, though he's got good jiu-jitsu and he works hard, he has a real discrepancy in the defensive aspect of his game. He gets hit too easily and too often, and he doesn't employ enough head movement. He backs straight out, he keeps his head on a straight line, and I think we're going to see Pat Barry light him up with an overhand punch, KO probably in the 1st. Moving up to the co-main event of moving up to the main event of the evening, rather, we've got Dominick Cruz taking on Demetrius Mighty Mouse Johnson. Dominick Cruz is probably the most slept-on UFC champion. It's probably because A, these are recently introduced weight classes. B, they're not getting the kind of attention they deserve on the big cards. And C, Dominick Cruz's style isn't the most palatable thing to your casual blood and guts fan. Dominick Cruz is a guy who employs a lot of movement, a high volume punching style. It's incredibly effective. He takes no damage and he's very successful, but he doesn't finish a lot and he doesn't necessarily damage his opponent too much. He's got victories over Uriah Faber, Scotty Jorgensen, and 2 victories over Joseph Benavidez as well as former champion Brian Bowles. So it's not a question of whether or not he's a good mixed martial artist. It's whether or not he's going to get over with your mainstream fan. In Demetrius Mighty Mouse Johnson, he's taken on a fighter who's very similar to people he's already fought. I don't think Demetrius Johnson offers anything that Joseph Benavidez didn't have. I don't think he's got anything that Uriah Faber hasn't got. He's maybe a bit quicker than both those guys, but he's not dangerous enough on his feet, and I think Dominick Cruz is fast enough to see any kind of takedown attempt coming from Mighty Mouse Johnson. I like Dominick Cruz by decision in a pretty one-sided fight. It's been RT here with itsfightingstupid.blogspot.com.